Hey folks, how you doing? We're back again. We're going to give you the synopsis on the Precious machine, right? We're going to zoom in here real quick, and I'm going to show you how we put in a new filter system. They never had it in this machine. That is on the return side. This here leaks. I got to fix it. But that filter is on the return side of the hydraulics. Now they tell you should put it on the pressure side. It's impossible to do on this unit. If you want to know why, I will explain it in a later video, but there you go. So we turn this off, this main lever here. This one goes to the mast. The reason being is I need to fix the mast. I haven't gotten to fixing the mast yet. The mast leaks. So instead of having to drain out the whole tank, I could just shut off the mast. Alright? And then what you got down here somewhere in this mess is you have another valve here, alright, that shuts off the fluids to here. One of these two will allow me to take the system apart and drain the fluids. So, or at least shut the fluids off to service the unit. This system is a very interesting thing. I got that from Rochester Filter. I do believe that's what it was called. It's a third generation company that their great-great-grandfather made his money putting filters together for these units because they didn't have one. This unit never had a hydraulic filter, so it was just not filtered. It would just come in here. It would go through your spool valves, and your spool valves are attached underneath, so you're kind of limited. I spent a lot of money to have these spool valves rebuilt because the unit's 70 years old. They're working fine. I'm not getting any leaks. We got the seals right. I did screw this up. This is where I'm getting a leak here, which is making my mast sag and sink down. But that's me. I just haven't taken it apart and fixed it, which is probably because I'm going to have to take a lot of the oil out of it, and I just don't feel like doing it. So other than that, what I ended up doing is all new hydraulic hoses all the way throughout the entire unit. Alright, so you know you're not going to have a blowout anywhere. What I ended up doing too is, I'm not sure where I left off with the videos. Right here is Rochester brake. They're not in Rochester. I believe they're in East Rochester, but it's Rochester brake. Rochester brake and clutch. They relined the brake pads here, okay? And interestingly enough, they've done this for seriously expensive classic cars. They're another company that you never hear about, but they're third generation or fourth generation. They can reline anything, and it was really inexpensive. I think it was like $100 or $120 to reline them brakes. Now, I'd also sent them the drum here, which is nothing, just a big steel wheel. They cleaned it up. They didn't want to take too much material off it, because if you do, as this brake works, it's just going to go between two springs, and it collapses here. You'll see somebody had done some welding work in there. I mean, they work fine, but you're going to run out of room sooner or later, and you're going to have to change the pivot point on this, or weld a stack in between this and this, because you just can't buy this part anymore, and it's going to wear out on the end. It's an interesting problem, but easily overcome as long as you can get the brakes resurfaced, right? The other situation I had was right here. Yes, I know the camera's shaky. This is our steering sector shaft. Mine was bent. Anytime you turned this wheel, it would move all over the place. It was bent. There was nothing I can do. I have it if anybody wants to buy one, because it turns out they put them in some other classic cars, the gearbox and everything, but the shaft itself was bent. I actually found a company that had new old stock. It was $550 to get that steering sector shaft in here. So now all the steering is right, the pitman arm is right, everything is good in there. In case you're wondering, this wire here is I gotta fix that. That is actually because you can come it's plumbed in, so I can actually make the horn here. I haven't done it yet, but yeah, we're not gonna split. I can yell, hey, get out of the way, right? What I also did is I put in your voltage meter, oil pressure, and an hour meter. So what do we got on here now? Yeah, we're looking at 19 hours. I put 19 hours on this thing since I've done it and rebuilt it. I did all the rebuilding. I did all the paint work. We got the new tires on the back. I need new tires on the front. Don't really care right now. The back steer tires were really bad. Had to get done. The other interesting thing is I had welded these pockets right here. These are just steel ingots, 4x4. That's all they are. They were at a surplus steel shop. I had them cut them in half for me. I welded these handles on them to give me some counterbalance. And the reason being is, if anyone else has one of these machines, what you're going to find is I have one in the basement. I will show you at some point, because I bought another one for parts, right? This is hollow. There's nothing here. This is supposed to be a counterweight. This whole thing right here, this whole thing is supposed to be a solid hunk of steel. It's not. So the 2,000 pound setup that we're looking at here to lift 2,000 pounds is not going to happen, because this is not solid steel. It seems as though through the years somebody decided that they didn't want the extra weight, they didn't need to lift the extra poundage, so it looks perfectly designed, but I cannot find anywhere in the literature that they designed that themselves. It's almost like somebody tinned this out themselves to make it lighter. So what I did to do to compensate for that is I had put these are 50 pounds a piece, 50, 50 is 100, 50, 50 is 100. So I got 200 on the back. That's still not quite enough for what this machine can lift. And sooner or later I will show you. I bought another machine I found on Facebook. Went down to Connecticut and picked it up, and it has the solid steel, well, solid metal, whatever you want to call it. It ain't steel. I think it's cast iron, but either way, a heavy unit that goes back here, and it has the hooks that you would put in here to pick this off. And also, if you notice, I have no hoop, I have no e-props, I have no safety feature here, which is interesting. You got to be careful with this unit, because if you're backing up, right, so now you're backing up and you're not paying attention, and you're in the seat here, right, and you're not paying quite enough attention. If there's something here, a pole or something that's extruding out, you can cut yourself in half. It's a problem. It should have, what they have is a ropes. It goes there and it comes down there and it hooks in down here. The one I have in the basement has it. It's a little torn up, but it has it. it isn't going to do anything major. I mean, if a bunch of cement block comes crashing on you, you're screwed. But at least when it comes up here and it comes around here, if you back into something, you're not going to cut yourself in half. I've already did it once on this one with a bunch of guardrail. I was backing up. I was looking that way instead of that way, and I should have been looking this way. And yeah, it wasn't good. I caught myself in time, but you got to remember too, with this unit, your clutch, you got your clutch, you got your brake, and you got your gas. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but none of these pedals are conducive to modern era braking and clutching. You can't kind of, you know, slip the clutch. You can't do anything because you got these little hooks. All right, you got these little hooks on the side of each one of these. So if you're trying to do both pedals at the same time, it just don't work out well. These things are meant to just go or don't go. All right, and 70 years ago, that's what they did, and they did, you know, they did fine. I mean, that's what they did. But if you want to try, you know, there are modern times you want to screw around, it's a little bit more difficult to do. So I haven't fixed the mast. There's nothing wrong with the mast except that she leaks. All right, got to get that done. And I didn't paint it. This still came with whatever verbiage is on here. I redid the tilt cylinder. I've redone the hydraulic, whatever you call it, majiggery thingy, kumsi kiyami, that thing. I added all that, all new hoses. At least you know that you're not going to blow out a hose. And yeah, I mean, it came out well. The paintwork is not perfect. And you're seeing this iteration of it. It's a little old because I rebuilt it like I was going to restore it. And then realized I got to work it. The machine works wonderfully. I love it. I use it for all kinds of things. I use it for everything that you're not supposed to use it for. Just to even just like prop up something. You put a lawnmower, I'm old. You pick that lawnmower up, you can work on it. It can do all kinds of things. It's just an old machine, but I love it. It fits in my basement. The other thing, you know, got to remember is your width here. You can get that through a commercial door. And especially without the extra weights in the back, you don't have to worry about it busting through concrete pads or anything like that. So for lighter stuff, I've actually used this in my shop here. We went here, but I actually drove around to the front door and pulled it right in for all new racks and equipment, and I didn't have to worry about it taking out the pad or doing anything stupid, right? It fit through the door. I brought in all the rack assembly